Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin in 15 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin in 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, our program is about to begin.
NIH is certainly the biggest driver of biological research in the United States.
And I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for the NIH.
We need to worry about what the next generation of biomedical scientists, where they're going to come from, and that they have real careers.
We hope going forward is to be able to call attention to the importance and the value of medical research and increase funding for all of medical research so that we can transform the lives of people not only in the U.S. but also around the world.
So it's important to be here today because there's no cure for diabetes. There's over 30 million people in our country living with diabetes. So the research that's funded through NIH is critical in bringing us closer to a cure.
We're saving lives. You heard about some of those today. We're doing basic science that will lead to advances 20 years from now we can hardly contemplate because we don't know where they're going to go, and it's really important for NIH to continue to support that.
Members are looking for things they can do together, that they can work on together, and that they can go home and be proud of. This is one of those things.
Medical research is so special because the breakthroughs can improve the life of not just one sick individual, but the lives of their loved ones, their caretakers, and their friends.
I think continued funding for NIH not only helps at a population level, but it helps keep young investigators in science as a career.
And my oncologist not known about Zolota, the research not been out there for that, I probably wouldn't be here myself today.
I was saved by some very recent technology. I'm a living example of a success story of their funding.
I've always been a strong supporter of the NIH. To me, research funding is absolutely essential.
All because of medical research through NIH. If we didn't have this medical research funding, there would be no way we could look for a treatment or a cure for Alzheimer's disease.
I first give thanks to God, but second, I give thanks to medical research. Because if it wasn't for medical research, I don't believe my son would be here now.
For what they've done for the last 4 years in both houses of Congress, in both parties, this town, which has very few remaining bipartisan areas of support, medical research is very much at the top of that list.
Every dollar invested in NIH is a dollar invested not just in public health, but in national security and the protection of the American people.
Please welcome the Chief Executive Officer of the American Association for Cancer Research, Dr. Margaret Foti.
Welcome, everyone, to tonight's reception to celebrate the life-saving research that NIH is supporting. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm and commitment to joining together in this national movement to shine the spotlight on the need for robust, sustained, and predictable funding increases for the National Institutes of Health. My name is Marge Foti, and I have the great honor and privilege of serving as the CEO of the American Association for Cancer Research. The AACR was founded in 1907, and as such, is the world's first and largest organization dedicated to saving lives through advances in cancer research. As the founding organizer of the Rally for Medical Research, the ACR is overjoyed with the enthusiastic response and participation from more than 300 organizations that are partnering in support of this effort to make the NIH a national priority. And now I have the distinct honor of introducing Francis S. Collins, MD, PhD. Dr. Collins is the director of the National Institutes of Health. In that role, he oversees with distinction the work of the largest supporter of biomedical research in the world, spanning the spectrum from laboratory to clinical research. Dr. Collins is a physician geneticist, noted for his landmark discoveries of disease genes and for his leadership of the International Human Genome Project, which culminated in April 2003 with the completion of a finished sequence of the Human DNA Instruction Book. Dr. Collins also served as director of the National Human Genome Research Institute at the NIH from 1993 to 2008. Before going to the NIH, Dr. Collins was an HHMI investigator at the University of Michigan. He is an elected member of the Institute of Medicine and the National Academy of Sciences, was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in November 2007, and received the National Medal of Science in 2009. Thank you so much, Dr. Collins, for your extraordinary leadership, for your participation in tonight's program, and for delivering remarks for the third year in a row at the Rally for Medical Research Hill Day. The entire medical research community is fortunate to have you at the helm of the NIH, especially at this propitious time. And now, please welcome Dr. Collins.
Hello, everyone. I'm Francis Collins, the NIH Director, and happy to join you, albeit virtually, for Rally for Medical Research Day. Delighted to have a chance to speak to you, although I would have preferred, and I know you would too, if we could all been together in person, as we have done for several years now. But it's been a pretty tough year, and I'm proud of the community, and that's all of you who have done everything you can to support medical research, even in the midst of some serious challenges called COVID-19. I want to thank the American Association for Cancer Research for their hosting and many other advocacy organizations that have joined together here on Rally Day. And I particularly want to thank the members of Congress for their steadfast championship for biomedical research. Both parties, both houses, making medical research a very high priority and recognizing that this is something the government can do that otherwise wouldn't happen. The consistent funding increases for NIH over the course of the last several years have put us in a very strong position to respond to challenges, and goodness knows we've had a challenge with COVID-19. And on top of that, Congress has found it possible, in the midst of everything else, to recognize that we could go even faster with some additional resources, and an additional $3.5 billion have been put into the research engine to allow us to do things with COVID-19 we otherwise would not have been able to do. And my goodness, what a remarkable series of advances have been happening in record time. It was only January 10th where that sequence of the virus, SARS-CoV-2, was first posted. And within a couple of days, the scientists at the Vaccine Research Center had designed a vaccine based upon the messenger RNA approach, a relatively novel approach that was actually developed in part based upon what we learned about Ebola and now could be brought forward for this new, really serious challenge. 63 days later, the first patient was being injected in the phase 1 trial, blowing away by many months the record previously held for going from that kind of recognition of a pathogen to having a trial started. And that pace has continued, as you know. Here we are now with 6 vaccines that are either already in phase 3 trials or will be soon in the next couple of months. 3 different technologies, which is good. You want to have this diversity of approaches. Each of those planning to enroll or already enrolling 30,000 participants, half of them getting placebo, half getting vaccine. And we're watching closely, of course, then to see What is the way in which this vaccine works in the real world? Does it in fact show the appropriate safety? And that's going to be a very high bar indeed. And is it effective? Does it prevent people from getting sick with SARS-CoV-2 infections? So this is going to be a very important few months, as everyone knows. I think, along with my good colleague Tony Fauci, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic that by the end of 2020, one or more of these vaccines will have been proven to be safe and effective. And we are already, because of Operation Warp Speed, planning for success by spending hundreds of millions of dollars, I guess you could say billions of dollars, to prepare doses of each of these vaccines to be distributed to those highest risk individuals. Of course, if a vaccine turns out not to be successful, we'll have to throw those away, but it is a good investment given the timetable we're up against and the fact that at the time I'm speaking to you, almost 200,000 people have died from this disease, and we want to put an end to all of the death and suffering from this as fast as we can, and the vaccine is the best way to get there. But of course, we also need to work on therapeutics. In that regard, the partnership that has been set up and has been operating with remarkable speed just since April, the partnership called ACTIV, Accelerating Coronavirus Therapeutic Interventions and Vaccines, has been one of the more gratifying things that I've been part of in my 11 years as your NIH director, bringing together 20 pharmaceutical companies, the FDA, the CDC, multiple NIH institutes, the Veterans Administration, the Department of Defense, BARDA, all of this managed by the Foundation for NIH, and everybody basically 24/7 determined to figure out how to prioritize the most promising therapeutics and get them into rigorous clinical trials as soon as possible. And we are now in the midst of figuring out which of those things can work. Does interferon antibodies, do they need to be working in an inpatient, or would you rather start in an outpatient? What about anticoagulants? Are there ways that we could do a better job of helping people who get very sick where we know blood clotting is a problem? All of those things underway in a record speed setting kind of protocol, and doing this with master protocols where we have really clear ideas about what the endpoints are going to be and how to assess them. I got to say, as somebody who's been part of NIH now for 27 years, seeing all of this come together this year is truly breathtaking, and nobody's worrying about who's going to get the credit. We just got to get this done because people are dying and time is passing. I might also say another area that the Congress has helped us do is to get into the diagnostic areas. And with that regard, something called RADx, Rapid Acceleration of Diagnostics, has made it possible just in a few short weeks since this started in late April to fund a total now of 16 new technologies that started out in small businesses or academic labs and are now scaling up to be able to deliver potentially a couple million tests a day that are point of care, that are rapid, that are reasonably cost effective, and that can range everywhere from a CRISPR-based effort to the usual RT-PCR to viral antigen tests. We need, of course, that kind of capacity in order to find out who's infected and quickly respond. And all of that's also part of our research agenda. I got to say, some of those technologies I have to look at with a little bit of a sense of pride because they depend on things we learned in the Human Genome Project about how to work with nucleic acid, because of course COVID-19 as an RNA virus has a nucleic acid that is our best opportunity for diagnostics, and using technologies that originally came out of the Genome Project, that's one of the reasons we can do this as quickly as we can. And it is now 30 years, or it will be in a couple weeks, since the original start of the Genome Project in 1990. And who would have thought that it would have all of these spin-offs 30 years later, including tackling this unprecedented global pandemic? But we need everybody engaged, and I'm really pleased to see the way in which our community, and that's all of you, and the Congress, we've all gotten together to do this thing of using science to address this, and science is our best hope right now. So who knew when we gathered a year ago, having a lovely time there face to face, that this was looming out there just a couple months later, and it would change everything for the way in which we lead our lives and how we plan our research and all the things that are currently around us that give us a great sense of concern. I think there's no question that all of us will look back on 2020 as a memorable year, and not in necessarily a good way. And it was a dark year in terms of the havoc created by this unexpected coronavirus and its rapid spread and its ability to be passed from person to person with such ease. Nothing like this was quite anticipated, although we knew pandemics were around the corner. This one is really quite a striking example of the kind of thing we hoped would not happen. But science is our best hope for pushing that back. NIH will continue to strive to be that city on a hill that's supported by this Congress and lighted up by the brilliance and the determination of our bold, innovative, dedicated, and tireless scientists. So thank you, all of you, for what you are doing to keep those fires of ingenuity burning. Science is truly our best hope to get through this, and we will get through this. Thank you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Rivas, and I serve as president of the American Association for Cancer Research. I now have the distinct honor of introducing two members of Congress whose collective actions are allowing our nation's researchers and physician scientists to significantly accelerate the pace of progress against the hundreds of diseases that afflict millions of Americans. Congresswoman Nita Lowey represents the 17th District of New York, and she's the first woman to chair the powerful House Committee on Appropriations. During her 32 influential years in Congress, Chairwoman Lowey has taken a leadership role on several key public policy issues, such as education, women's issues, and healthcare. On the Appropriations Committee, she has become one of the committee's leading advocates for increased federal investment in biomedical research to the National Institutes of Health. During her tenure within the committee, the budget of the NIH has tripled, and she's well known for working across the aisle to ensure the robust and sustained support needed for biomedical research. In addition to funding the NIH, she has been an advocate for diversifying the workforce within the biomedical research enterprise, especially among women. In a March 2020 committee hearing, Chairwoman Lowey announced that she would be retiring from Congress at the end of 2020. Her leadership and advocacy for medical research will be truly missed. We're honored to have Chairwoman Lowey with us, and we thank her for her service to the country. I am also very pleased to introduce Senator Roy Blunt, who has served as chairman for the past 6 years of the Senate Appropriates Subcommittee on Labor, Health and Human Services, Education, and Related Agencies, which is the panel in Congress that oversees the NIH budget. He has been the right leader at the right time to work with his colleagues on both sides of the aisle to provide robust, sustained, and predictable funding increases for the NIH. There is no doubt that it is because of his leadership and his commitment to prioritizing funding for biomedical research that the NIH budget has increased by $11.6 billion, or 39%, since FY 2016. Thank you, Chairman Blunt, for providing remarks to the medical research community this evening.
Hello, this is Congresswoman Nita Lowey. It is a pleasure to join you today in support of medical research, though I wish we could be together in person. Throughout my time in Congress, funding for research, and in particular biomedical research at the National Institutes of Health, has been among my top priorities. The reasons are clear. When reliance on even the best medical professionals is not enough, we move forward with the hope that one day a cure will be found and fewer people will suffer. That is why research is the key. Research has unlocked the mysteries of the human genome and led to advances such as immunotherapy that provide a chance at survival when just years ago the same diagnosis would be a death sentence. Every day, thanks to your work, we move toward a new frontier in scientific advancement. Every day, more people are given hope of a brighter future. That is what your research means to me and to millions of Americans. And today we are relying on medical research more than ever as the world confronts its most serious public health crisis of the past century, one that has sickened and killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. We are counting on all of our scientists and our research partners to develop treatments and vaccines so we can beat COVID-19 once and for all. As chairwoman of the House Appropriations Committee, I am working to support these efforts. In the past 5 fiscal years, Congress has worked across the aisle to appropriate an increase of $11.6 billion for the National Institutes of Health, for a total of nearly $47.1 billion. I am working to increase this funding level for the next fiscal year and to provide for our emerging needs in the next COVID supplemental. Together, we can improve health outcomes, ease suffering, and provide Americans with longer, healthier, and more productive lives. Thank you for all you do.
Hi, I'm Senator Roy Blunt from Missouri, and I also happen to be the chairman of the Senate Labor HHS Appropriations Subcommittee that, among other things, and one of my priorities is that we fund the National Institute of Health. It's been an honor to speak to the Rally for Medical Research in the past, and now to get to do it on your virtual Hill Day. I want to recognize that even during this challenging time, you continue to advocate for medical research. Thank you for continuing to support investing in NIH and for the life-changing work you do and they do every day. As chairman of the subcommittee for nearly 6 years now, I've made it a priority to invest in NIH. This is research that serves the country in incredible ways, saving millions of lives. It's lowered healthcare costs, and it supports jobs in every state across our country. Before I became chairman, NIH funding had stagnated for nearly a decade. NIH buying power was down 22%. Success rates for grants were at a low point. Young researchers were leaving the field, and crucially, a lot of them never even joined in the first place because they realized, or at least they'd convinced themselves, that there wasn't going to be a chance for them in this constricting field. But over the past 5 appropriations bills, NIH funding has increased $11.6 billion, or nearly 40%. We've made up for that 22%. We've made up for inflation. Now we're investing in a way that truly re-energizes health research. This funding's allowed for investments in critical areas like cancer and Alzheimer's disease. Immunotherapy 6 years ago was something that was only being talked about at a couple of research institutions. We all know now that the dramatic difference it's made for so many individuals and fighting so many cancers. The BRAIN Initiative, as it relates to lots of areas, including cancer, and precision medicine, are really dramatically changing the way we look at healthcare for so many people. There are many new ideas, new scientific theories, new tools to move us forward. And unlike the previous decade, NIH has growing resources to fund them. Importantly, as we prioritize resources for NIH, Congress has balanced the need to invest in high-impact and high-speed research with the flexibility to fund high-risk research and out-of-the-box ideas. You more often than you would imagine in research find what you're looking for in some other research where you really weren't focusing on that incredible goal. We've ensured by being more flexible that many institutes and every institute at NIH and receive increases because we understand that revolutionary discoveries can occur from unexpected, untargeted research. As we've seen firsthand with COVID-19, much of what we know has come from research into other diseases. Currently, we're using a COVID-19 treatment that was first developed to treat Ebola. Several of our vaccine candidates came from concepts developed for Zika and influenza. You never know where the next breakthrough may come, and many times it comes from the least expected place. Finally, I want to thank you for your tireless advocacy for medical research. In the last 5 years, we've made a tremendous investment in NIH. But it shouldn't stop there. Sustained, consistent research is going to be incredibly important, and being sure we meet that research with the funds that are necessary. I want to thank you for all the work you do. I promise to keep working in Washington to support it. I thank you again for this opportunity to speak to you today, and look forward we'll be meeting in person soon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tamara Allard, and as the constituent of Senator Patty Murray, it is my great honor to introduce her to you today. Patty Murray has served the state of Washington in the U.S. Senate since January of 1993. And over those last 27 years, she has exhibited an unwavering commitment to advancing science and improving public health. As the ranking member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, she was instrumental in crafting and passing the 21st Century Cures Act, an initiative whose goal was to accelerate the pace of cures and medical breakthroughs in the United States. Furthermore, as ranking member on the House Appropriations Subcommittee for Labor, Health and Human Services, and Education, Senator Murray has worked in a bipartisan fashion with the subcommittee chairman, Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri, to ensure robust funding increases for the National Institutes of Health over the last 5 consecutive years. So, without further ado, I introduce to you Senator Patty Murray.
As we continue working to finally get our nation's COVID-19 response on the right track, we are seeing exactly why it's so important we always put science before politics, and why maintaining strong investments in medical research is so valuable. If we commit to putting science first, the critical work currently underway to develop safe and effective treatments, therapies, and vaccines will be the latest chapter in a story that spans back more than a century. Our country has a proud tradition as a leader in medical research and on the front lines of the world's most important health challenges. That history is the cornerstone of the work happening today. The recent investments Congress made to fight COVID-19 are all the more impactful because of the work we've already done to build a top-notch research community and equip it with the cutting-edge tools needed to push the boundaries of scientific discovery. I've been proud to support these efforts by working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle in recent years to pass the 21st Century Cures Act and billions of dollars in new investments in medical research. And I've been so appreciative of the advocates in the medical research community who continually work to make sure that even though we can't know what the next crisis is or breakthrough might be, we always remember how much is at stake for patients and our families. Thank you.
It's my great honor to introduce our next speaker, who has worked tirelessly on behalf of the patients in her district and across our nation, who depend on the life-changing research funded by the National Institutes of Health. The Honorable Representative from the 3rd District of Connecticut, Rosa DeLauro, believes, as do I, in the power of biomedical research to produce life-saving breakthroughs in science and medicine. NIH-funded researchers, many of whom are at the nation's medical schools and teaching hospitals, are serving dual roles today. They're performing vital work to advance vaccines, novel therapeutics, and diagnostic tests, all amid a global pandemic, while also dealing with the consequences COVID-19 has had on pre-pandemic operations, which slowed the very important research this nation needs into other diseases like Alzheimer's and substance use disorders. As the chair of the House Labor, Health and Human Services and Education Appropriations Subcommittee, Representative DeLauro has been a model of bipartisan leadership during this time, working with Ranking Member Tom Cole to ensure the nation is doing everything it can to fulfill the promise of medical advancement. Throughout her career, Chairwoman DeLauro has made sure that medical research is seen as a national priority, and the proof can be seen through 5 straight years of significant funding increases for the NIH. Importantly, she understands that the next big advancement in life-saving research and medicine can come from anywhere. With that in mind, she helped ensure that all 27 institutes and centers at the NIH have seen robust funding growth during her time as chairwoman of the Labor HHS Appropriations Subcommittee. Chairwoman DeLauro has also been a vocal champion of more equitable access to participation in research so that everyone, regardless of gender or race, can benefit from the fruits of medical research. Health equity is something we at the AAMC feel very strongly about, and we celebrate her efforts. As a 30-year cancer survivor, Chairwoman DeLauro understands personally that the road to any research breakthrough is long. So she also knows that investing in our nation's research infrastructure is crucial to preparing us to fight not only this pandemic and pandemics to come, but also the many other health threats facing Americans every day. Please join me in welcoming a true champion for medical research, the Honorable Rosa DeLauro.
Hello, everyone. This is Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, and it is an honor to speak with you in support of the Rally for Medical Research. I wish we could be speaking in person, but this virus has changed every aspect of our lives. It is a somber reminder of the urgent importance of medical research. So let me thank all of you for making your voices heard during this tumultuous and harrowing time, as you have so effectively done in the past. The Congress is an institution that responds to external pressure. Do not take no for an answer. Your voices are so powerful. I support you, and I am certain my colleagues do as well. As you know, I chair the Labor, Health, and Human Services and Education Appropriations Subcommittee, which funds the National Institutes of Health, as well as other federal programs for health, for children, for seniors, for education, and for workers. Congressman Cole chaired it in the past. We have our differences, but we have come together. There is a mutual respect and a shared set of values. And as a result, investing in NIH has long been a bipartisan priority for the subcommittee. I am proud that the Congress has increased NIH funding by $11.6 billion, or 39% over the past 5 years. And last year alone, the Congress provided an additional $2.6 billion increase over 2019. Thanks to the bipartisan leadership and your advocacy, we did not have to start at square one when COVID-19 hit. The bricks were laid. And now we face a pandemic that has exposed racial disparities and wrought financial ruin across our communities. More than 6 million Americans sickened. More than 180,000 killed. Millions more in financial freefall. And thankfully, we are well practiced in the field of making the future possible today through the pioneering work in basic and applied science at the NIH. With it, the U.S. is rushing alongside our allies to ride medical research to reach new understandings of this virus, new treatments, and hopefully a new vaccine. We hope to add to it with the HEROES Act, which the House passed in May. It provides almost $4.8 billion to, quote, expand COVID-19 related research on the NIH campus and at academic institutions across the country, and to support the shutdown and startup costs of biomedical research laboratories nationwide. And the funding bill for 2021, we included a $500 million increase for the National Institutes of Health. The Senate has yet to vote on either the HEROES Act or the funding for 2021. I continue to urge them to do so without delay. I know what the NIH represents. A breakthrough saves not just one life, but potentially millions of lives over generations to come, and can improve the life of their loved ones, caretakers, and friends. Biomedical research is one of the most important investments a country can make. It gives the gift of life. We must be supporting it, and we will with your help. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do. I look forward to the time when we can gather together again. Stay healthy.
I am Bob Thomas, a 23-year volunteer with the Alzheimer's Association. For the past 10 years, I've been doing what many of you do on a volunteer or professional basis. I advocate for research funding for NIH. That includes 4 visits to Washington each year, where I may meet with as many as 15 to 20 elected officials per visit. It is my pleasure to introduce one of the most influential congressional champions for NIH and Alzheimer's and dementia research. He hails from my home state of Oklahoma, where he has represented District 4 since 2003. Ranking Member Tom Cole was destined for politics. In the 1970s, he attended a liberal arts school, Grinnell University in Iowa, where he majored in history and politics. He became a Fulbright Scholar. He earned his master's at Yale. He returned to Oklahoma University, earning his PhD. He became a professor. He loves what he does. Fortunately for all of us, he is the ranking member of the LABOR-H subcommittee, which funds NIH research. He embraces the nation's goal for Alzheimer's disease research to effectively treat and prevent Alzheimer's disease by 2025. Since 2014, as a bipartisan leader, he is largely responsible for increasing NIH research funding by 35% and Alzheimer's and dementia research funding by an outstanding 6-fold. On behalf of the Alzheimer's Association, it is my pleasure to present the champion of NIH research, Ranking Member Tom Cole. The Alzheimer's Association looks forward to working with him in the days and years to come because, as he will tell you, we still have so much to accomplish. Ranking Member Cole.
Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole, and we meet obviously in very unusual times because we're talking in a very unusual way by video. Frankly, I wish we could all be together and talk about what brings us together, and that is our shared passion for the importance of biomedical research. You know, many of you have heard me say over the years that you're more likely to die in a pandemic than a terrorist attack. Sadly, that's been demonstrated to be true in spades over the last several months. We've lost tens of thousands, so far almost 180,000 Americans to the most terrible pandemic that we've had in a century. So if we've made investments before, we need to double down and make greater investments today. It's not just the future prosperity of the country, but the health and security and frankly the lives of tens of thousands of Americans and millions of people around the world depend on the success of our efforts. Over the last 5 years, working together across party lines under both Republican and Democratic leadership, we've made historic gains at the National Institute of Health. Frankly, for about 15 years beforehand, or a dozen years beforehand, we had essentially no increases at all. But the last 5 years, we've increased the annual budget by $2 to $3 billion every single year. That's made a difference for hundreds of thousands, really millions of Americans, and for people all over the world. This year, I think we have the opportunity to make additional increases. Now, it's important what kind of increases we make. This is a year in which there's going to be emergency money available, obviously dealing with COVID-19, and that's good. But the real challenge is to increase the baseline funding. That is the amount of money that we actually invest on an annual basis at the NIH. And frankly, we've been a little disappointing so far. The Senate has not moved any legislation yet, so we don't know what they're going to do. In the House, there was a very substantial increase for the NIH, and that's a good thing. But only $500 million of that is in the baseline budget. That is, will be recurring money that we can count on again next year. And about half of that is one-time money for infrastructure improvements. Now, that money is certainly needed, and I would hope we could continue to invest at that rate going forward. But the real challenge is, let's get back to what we've been doing, $2 to $3 billion increases of the annual budget. Once that money is built into the budget, it's not there on an emergency basis, it'll be there for generations to come to fund a variety of biomedical research endeavors. So more important maybe this year than ever, let's deal with the crisis at hand. We need to do that, but let's not lose the progress we've made over the last 5 years. Let's continue to increase substantially the resources that we devote to biomedical research on an annual basis going forward. I would urge you to go and talk to members of both parties to do it. I think you'll find them receptive. You just need to tell them, hey, we don't just need emergency one-time funding. You need to make a commitment to the ongoing mission of the NIH in a variety of areas. So critical to our future as a country, so critical to the health and well-being of every American, and frankly, critical to the health and well-being of all humanity. In our country, we're positioned and blessed to be able to do some things that other countries don't have the resources to do, don't have the infrastructure to do. But in this area, we should lead, and we should always lead. Last 5 years, we've done a great job. We need to redouble our efforts and continue to do that in the 5 years ahead. So good luck, God bless. Thank you for working on such an important process, and God willing, we'll be able to meet and once again talk about our shared passion for making the lives and the health of the American people and all of humanity better.
It's a great honor and pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who is a champion of medical research and the positive impact it has for those who face life-changing illnesses like cancer, Alzheimer's, and heart disease. The Honorable Senior Senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin, believes, as many of us do, that research is critical to sustain our nation and fuel discovery, innovation, and global competitiveness. I feel a deep affinity with Senator Durbin because long before he became a senator, he worked as an adjunct professor of medical humanities at the Southern Illinois University School of Medicine, which happens to be one of 42 institutions across Illinois that are members of the AAMC. He and I share a belief in the value of research and education and clinical care and community collaborations that these institutions provide. And the focus on the humanities and medicine is of growing importance in our ever more complex and very challenging world. Senator Durbin's long track record of supporting federal investments in research is reflected in his work on the Senate Appropriations Committee, including on the Labor HHS Education Subcommittee. More recently, he and Senator Moran of Kansas led a Dear Colleague letter requesting $15.5 billion in emergency supplemental funding for the NIH in response to the severe impacts of COVID-19 on our nation's research infrastructure. In his efforts to provide sustained, robust funding growth for the NIH, Senator Durbin has stated, continuing to support scientific research is the smartest investment we can make for our health, our future, and our economy. I could not agree more. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Senator Dick Durbin.
When I decided to run for re-election, one of the top 3 priorities I identified was increasing our nation's investment in medical research. I know how important that research is for patients and families struggling with many illnesses: cancer, ALS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, the list goes on and on. Medical research holds the promise of new cures and treatments that both improve and save lives. Today, sadly, we've been reminded of the necessity and importance of medical research as the coronavirus epidemic has ravaged countries here and abroad. Like so many other pressing public health challenges, if we hope to find a cure or a therapy for COVID-19 or a vaccine to prevent it, we'll need our best researchers and scientists on the case, which means we need the National Institutes of Health and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention on the case. I'm pleased to report some good news. Rejecting dramatic proposed cuts from the Trump White House, Congress has provided the National Institutes of Health with nearly 40% funding increase over the past 5 years, an additional $11 billion. During that time, we've also increased the Center for Disease Control's budget by 15%. But more must be done. We know the toll that the coronavirus pandemic is taking on medical research nationwide. It's closed labs and caused researchers to put much of their work on hold, which is why Senator Jerry Moran, a Republican colleague of mine from Kansas, and I are pushing for Congress to provide an additional $15 billion in NIH funding to support research that's been stalled by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as coronavirus-related research as well. Thank you for fighting alongside me all these years in support of increases for our nation's medical research agencies, especially the NIH and CDC. We have a lot of work ahead of us. Let's stick together and get it done.
I'm deeply honored to introduce as our next speaker the Honorable Senator Todd Young, the senior senator from Indiana, who shares my strong support for the value of biomedical research, both for our economy and for our people. Senator Young understands that we need government investments in rigorous research to better understand and prevent and treat diseases like Alzheimer's, cancer, and opioid use disorder. Senator Young has also joined Senator Durbin in promoting funding for congenital heart disease, which is of special meaning to me. I have dedicated much of my own life's work as a cardiologist to that specialty, with a focus on congenital heart disease in adolescents and adult patients. Additionally, the Senator's dedication to funding research into substance use disorders and non-opioid alternatives is particularly relevant today, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to exacerbate these issues across our country. Throughout the first half of his first term, Senator Young has consistently been a staunch advocate for biomedical research funding, recognizing the impact that medical research has on patients every day and on patients everywhere. Every spring, he has signed on with his colleagues to a bipartisan Dear Colleague letter requesting a strong funding commitment to the National Institutes of Health. Senator Young has also supported the emergency supplemental investments in NIH for critical research and development of vaccines, treatments, and diagnostics for COVID-19. And he continues to promote not only the value of NIH, but also the work of other research agencies, such as the National Science Foundation, through his work on various Senate committees that oversee health and science programs. I'm grateful to Senator Young for his commitment to federal support of biomedical research and his recognition that such research is not only a driver of our economy, but also is especially important for saving lives and providing hope for millions of people. Please join me in welcoming Senator Young.
Hello, it's an honor to take part in this year's Rally for Medical Research. Medical research is essential, especially as it relates to the current pandemic, but it's so much more than that. It's research into all the things that have long plagued our society, the people we love, our neighbors, things like Alzheimer's, cancer, liver disease. They deserve more funding. And you know what? It's a good value proposition too. It not only extends lives, It not only improves the quality of life, it can save money too. So thank you for your advocacy for more NIH research. I will continue to fight alongside of you in that effort, and I encourage you to contact your elected representatives and continue the fight for more medical research. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Clifford Hudis, and I am the CEO of the Association for Clinical Oncology, or ASCO. I'm honored tonight to introduce Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Senator Van Hollen was elected to the United States Senate in 2016 after representing Maryland's 8th Congressional District and home of the NIH in the U.S. House of Representatives. Currently, Senator Van Hollen sits on the prestigious Senate Appropriations Committee and the Budget Committee, where he's been a stalwart supporter of biomedical research. Senator Van Hollen has also been an ally to the pediatric cancer community. During his time in the House of Representatives, Senator Van Hollen was co-chair of the Childhood Cancer Caucus, and in 2017 championed the Childhood Cancer Survivorship, Treatment, Access, and Research, or STAR Act. This landmark bill expanded opportunities for childhood cancer research and improved work towards identifying and tracking childhood cancer incidents, and overall it enhanced the quality of life for childhood cancer survivors. Welcome, Senator Van Hollen, and thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Chris Van Hollen, and I'm proud to represent Maryland in the United States Senate. And Maryland is proud to be home to the world's premier medical research organization, the National Institutes of Health. And it's great to be back with you for the Rally for Medical Research. It may be virtual, but no less vital. In fact, this year, I think Americans and people around the world have an even stronger awareness of the importance of medical research as we look for treatments and vaccines for the coronavirus. And this investment in NIH is part of that important path from discovery to treatments and cures. And so we need to make those investments. I am pleased that this year we increased the NIH budget by over $3 billion, but even so, we haven't gotten above the early 2000 levels when you count for inflation. So this year we need to continue on that upward path. We need to invest at least an additional $3 billion to bring us closer to $45 billion. And those dollars translate into real change in people's lives. And if you think about what falling short means, it means researchers who have promising ideas that NIH would like to fund to develop treatments or cures to a disease, but that idea stays in the brain of the researcher and never reaches the consumer or patient. And when others who are looking at career paths see that great ideas are not funded, then they look elsewhere. So it is really essential that we provide the funding for this basic research. And I'm glad that all of you have come together once again to push for this vital investment. Because of your help, we have put ourselves back on an upward trajectory. We need to continue down that path in order to save lives, change lives, both here in America and around the world. So let's get it done.
I am pleased to introduce Representative Jennifer Wexton, who serves Virginia's 10th District. Prior to her election to the House of Representatives in 2018, Congresswoman Wexton served the people of Virginia as a prosecutor for nearly 2 decades and was a state senator for 5 years. Throughout her time in public service, Representative Wexton has made access to health care a top priority. She has worked to combat the ongoing opioid epidemic and has been fighting to increase access to affordable health care for all Americans. In fact, during her time as a state senator, Virginia expanded Medicaid to over 400,000 citizens. The Congresswoman currently serves on the Financial Services Committee and the Committee on Space, Science, and Technology. We are honored to have you join us, Congresswoman. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Wexton, and I represent Virginia's 10th District in Congress. First, I'd like to thank the many partners who come together to make the Rally for Medical Research possible every year, and especially to all of the advocates who are gathering virtually this year, the researchers, healthcare professionals, and of course the survivors, patient advocates, and their families. Thanks to your work, the importance and value of public funding for medical research is a bipartisan priority that is shared across Congress. Funding for the NIH and their medical research programs is one of the best investments of federal dollars that we can make. The impact for this kind of work is felt all over the world and for many generations to come. It inspires young people to get engaged in science, saves and changes lives, and can help manage dangerous disease outbreaks like COVID-19. It's an issue that I've worked closely with during my first term in Congress. Earlier this year, I introduced the bipartisan Gabriella Miller Kids First Research Act 2.0, which would redirect penalties collected from pharmaceutical companies that break the law to go towards critical rare pediatric disease research. The bill was brought to my attention from a constituent of mine who's an advocate like all of you. Her name is Ellen Miller, and she made it her mission to fight for this critical research funding ever since she lost her daughter Gabriella to cancer a few years ago, founding an advocacy organization and successfully getting tens of millions of dollars authorized for childhood disease research. So I want you to know that your efforts here at this Rally for Medical Research really do matter and really do make an impact. Good luck in your continued advocacy, and thank you once again for the incredible work that you're doing. Take care.
And I now have the distinct honor of introducing two members of Congress who have made extraordinary contributions to advancing medical research. Congressman Fred Upton, Republican from Michigan, and Congresswoman Diane DeGette, Democrat from Colorado, have both prioritized biomedical research and public health throughout their careers in Congress, and they have been staunch supporters of the NIH. From 2011 to 2016, Congressman Upton served as chairman of the Committee on Energy and Commerce, and Congresswoman DeGette served as a Democratic leader, including vice chair on the committee. In 2014, they formed a bipartisan partnership to launch the 21st Century Cures Act, an initiative whose goal was to accelerate the pace of cures and medical breakthroughs in the United States. Congressman Upton and Congresswoman DeGette worked together for more than 2 years on this legislation, gathering input from researchers, patients, healthcare providers, and industry. The result of their efforts was a remarkably bipartisan bill signed into law in December 2016 by President Obama. Among many important provisions in this legislation, the 21st Century Cures Act included an innovation fund that allocated resources for both the NIH and for the FDA for over 7 to 10 years. Thank you, Congressman Upton and Congresswoman DeGette.
Hey, it's Congressman Fred Upton from Michigan. I am in Michigan now. As much as I'd like to be with you in person, all of our lives have changed this year for sure. And, you know, we're going to restore our way of life. That's, I'm convinced that we will. Testing and a vaccine, those things are very important. But I just want to thank you all for the really good work that you do. I know this is a call to action for more medical research money. I'm all in. I've got your back. And in fact, in the bill that I helped spearhead with my colleague Diana DeGette from Denver, she and I teamed together and we were able to pass 21st Century Cures, probably one of the most significant pieces of legislation enacted into law back in 2016. And with it, it was coupled with $45 billion in additional research money on top of what we were already doing for the NIH. And you know, really, as I look back at my career, Newt Gingrich, remember him? He tapped me when he was speaker to work with Henry Waxman and double the money for the NIH. We did that. Then there was a slowdown, and that's one of the reasons why we included it in 21st Century Cures. You know, cancer impacts every family, big time. In fact, tomorrow, we'll be burying my cousin who died of cancer just this last week. It's not the first member of my family that's been impacted by cancer. Someday, we are going to find the cure. For Scott, we thought he had another year just a couple weeks ago, and life went awfully fast. We can't work fast enough to to make sure that we have the money for all these diseases. We're the only country on the face of the planet that really has the resource to do this. It's always been bipartisan. It's always been really important. And we're lucky that we have some of the leaders that we do in the House and the Senate to make sure that we're going to get the money that we need, and hopefully then some too. So anyway, thanks for all you do. Next year I'll be there. God bless you all. Bye.
Hi everybody, it's Diana DeGette. I'm so happy to join you virtually at this rally for medical research. This research is so important for the health of all Americans. You know, disease doesn't just strike Democrats or Republicans or even unaffiliated. It strikes everybody. That's why I was so proud to introduce 21st Century Cures with Congressman Fred Upton, which updated the way we do medical research from the lab to drug approval and device approval, and spent over $6 billion for initiatives like the BRAIN Initiative and Joe Biden's Cancer Moonshot. Now, Congressman Upton and I are working on a new bill, Cures 2.0, to take the strides we've made and to make them even better. This bill should be introduced later this fall and even into next spring, and we're hoping that we can bring a wide coalition together to help support biomedical research in this country. In the meantime, we need to make sure that we pass a budget that has robust funding for cancer research and all types of medical research, especially in the era of COVID-19. We believe we have bipartisan, bicameral support for this, and so all of your efforts in helping work with your members of Congress, House and Senate to make sure that funding is robust are critical. Thanks for all you do. Have a great rally. Take care.
Good evening. My name is Lou Justament, and I serve as president of the Federation of American Societies for Experimental Biology, or FASEB. I now have the distinct honor of introducing Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. She has been a member of the United States Senate since 2007. Senator Klobuchar currently sits on several Senate committees, among them the Senate Committee on the Judiciary, the Senate Committee on Rules and Administration, the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, and the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry. She is also a member of the U.S. Congress Joint Economy Committee. Senator Klobuchar has consistently co-sponsored legislation in the Senate to boost federal investments in cutting-edge biomedical research, as she recognizes how robust funding for the NIH will help unleash the next generation of scientific breakthroughs.
Thank you for inviting me to speak with you during today's virtual rally for medical research. I'm honored to address all of you, and I thank you for speaking with one voice on the need to increase investment in medical research and, of course, to save lives. Thank you to the more than 350 organizations that are taking part in today's event. I know it's not the same being together, but we find ways to get things done. And I think that's what this is about today. Since 2013, you have brought hundreds of patients, family members, survivors, researchers, and healthcare professionals from across the country to Capitol Hill, all advocating to increase funding for NIH. As we all know, the NIH plays a vital role in supporting cutting-edge research to help prevent and treat some of the most debilitating conditions. And it has helped our country to lead the world in biomedical research and innovation. It's helped with jobs. It's helped with the economy. Medical innovation may not be uniquely American, but it is something that has always set our country apart. We're the country that led the international effort to map the human genome, helped discover the structure of DNA, and brought the world everything from medical gloves to electronic hearing aids to adhesive bandages. And today, as we are facing a global pandemic, we need medical research and innovation more than ever. My husband John recovered from COVID earlier this year. He was really sick. He was in the hospital for a week with severe pneumonia. My dad then got it at age 92, and survived and actually had less symptoms from it, and it made me really understand just how unpredictable and devastating this disease can be. My husband actually became the 7th person to donate plasma to the Mayo Clinic as part of Mayo's program to determine whether antibodies from recovered coronavirus patients can help us in the fight against this public health crisis. Research like this has never been more important, and the NIH is the largest source for medical research funding in the world. That's why we need to continue to boost funding for the NIH. And obviously, yes, it's about COVID, but it's not only about COVID. And I am hopeful that maybe all this research that's suddenly being done will somehow help us get to the bottom of other diseases as we continue to research those diseases. I'm proud of the work that we have done year after year to make sure the funding is there for the NIH, and I believe we even need to do more. These annual NIH increases have been long overdue. Before the 21st Century Cures Act was signed into law in 2016, an important milestone for increasing NIH's funding and making sure that patients' experiences are considered in the drug approval process. And by the way, I was proud to be there when the Cures Act was signed into law by President Obama. We know that NIH funding was flat before that for more than a decade. That's why I remain committed to ensuring that medical research continues to be prioritized. And I work across the aisle because members of both parties know how important this research is and how many families are counting on it. And they know it because of the work you do. They have people in every state that come talk to them. You have talked to so many members of Congress, either over the phone now or by email, yes, or by Zoom. But in the past, you went to Washington and then you showed up at congressional meetings and other things in people's districts. These are challenging times. And today's theme, more progress, more hope, and more lives saved, is a message that has never been more important. So keep up the good work. Tell your stories and continue making your voices heard. Thank you.
Remember, the most powerful thing you can do to make an impact is to share your personal story with your lawmakers. I can't tell you over and over and over again, these personal stories stick with us. I can tell you that I'm proud of the strides we have made in recent years to provide record increases at NIH. This is not a Democrat or a Republican issue, as you know, very bipartisan, but instead, it is one of the few issues upon which we can all agree.
But because of research, today I know several people who have lived more than a decade and a pretty productive life. And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of research. I think that research is the answer to us having much more productive and, I think, a much more pleasurable existence.
The administration's efforts to develop a coronavirus vaccine serves as the most recent example of how our decades of investment in biomedical research have paid off. These investments have helped us lead the world in responding to an unprecedented pandemic. We must maintain and sustain this commitment through continued financial investment. The United States must always lead the world in research and innovation.
I had one small role. I developed what was called the breast cancer stamp, and that was in the late 90s, and we got it through, and the stamp has been sold, and it has raised $90 million for breast cancer research. So I'm very proud of that, and it just shows people can do different things and raise funds and really make a difference.
I once told President Bill Clinton that his real legacy was doubling the NIH budget, not simply because of its deep investment in the economy, but more importantly, because in the end, it would save lives around the world.
I'm Jamie Raskin from Maryland, the 8th Congressional District, which includes NIH. So I am the congressman from NIH. I'm also a cancer survivor. So I wanted to send my warmest greetings and solidarity to the American Association for Cancer Research and the other 350 groups that have assembled to manifest broad public support for investment in medical research. That's our charge. And I thank you for organizing and assembling and mobilizing and not letting COVID-19 stop you. We'll do it online. We'll do it again in person. And we got to keep investing in medical research. So
rallies at our national capital have changed during the pandemic, but what has not changed is how your collective advocacy efforts are helping to prioritize funding for the National Institutes of Health and raise awareness about the importance of continued investment in medical research. NIH is the crown jewel of the biomedical infrastructure of the United States, and it plays a critical and influential role in research efforts that touch all of our lives through better science and medicine.
I am pleased to introduce Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. He has been a member of the United States Senate since 2009. Senator Warner currently serves as the Vice Chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. He also sits on the Senate Committee on Finance, the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs, the Senate Committee on Budget, and the Senate Committee on Rules and Administration. He also serves as Vice Chairman of the Senate Democratic Caucus. During his time in the Senate, Senator Warner has been a longtime supporter of increased funding for the National Institutes of Health. He consistently talks about how the investments in the NIH not only provide hope for patients and families, but are also very important from a long-term economic growth standpoint.
Hello, I'm Virginia Senator Mark Warner, and I want to thank all of you for participating in the Rally for Medical Research. I've recognized the importance of medical research long before I got involved in politics. My mom had Alzheimer's for 11 years, and I saw what a devastating effect that had on our whole family. And I've been a big proponent for medical research long before I was in elective office. When I became an elective office, first as governor, I supported increased medical research in Virginia, and then as senator, I've been a strong advocate of additional funding for NIH. So many great things are going on at NIH, and the dollars that we invest there are paid back multifold to our country and to the world. I think we see that particularly right now when we see our nation not fully prepared for a pandemic, yet the only ultimate solution of getting our economy reopened will at the end of the day be controlling the virus. And controlling the virus means doing the kind of research we need to find a vaccination. So for all of you who are participating in this initiative, let me recommit my efforts as the United States Senator to support additional NIH and other medical research funding. For those of you who may be involved in research, thank you for the great work that you do. I know there's no disease, from the challenges of Alzheimer's to the scourge of cancer, that we can't overcome with additional research, development, and ultimately exploration. So thanks again for allowing me to participate. Let's make sure that so many, including COVID-19, become diseases that we actually solve. Congratulations.
Throughout his tenure in Congress, Senator Casey has shown strong leadership as a fierce and unwavering champion for research funding at the National Institutes of Health, including Alzheimer's and dementia research. As ranking member of the Senate Aging Committee and a member of the Senate Health, Education, Labor and Pensions, and Senate Finance Committees, Senator Casey has been a vital advocate in ensuring our nation's most vulnerable, including those who are impacted by Alzheimer's and all dementia, receive the support they so rightfully deserve. Senator Casey works to produce bipartisan results, leading a group of bipartisan senators each year in calling for sustained research funding at the NIH. In recent years, the NIH budget has increased $2 to $3 billion a year as a result of this bipartisan effort, further accelerating new and important discoveries like disease-modifying treatments for Alzheimer's and other dementias. On behalf of the Alzheimer's Association, we thank him for his critical contributions to our shared cause and look forward to continuing our work with him to ensure medical research funding is a top priority in Congress.
Thank you for attending this virtual rally, and thanks for the work you do every day as we continue to confront the worst public health crisis in over a century. It's never been more important to invest in biomedical research to continue to fight this virus and the COVID-19 disease and to prepare for the next pandemic. We have to continue to invest. Senator Richard Burr and I, along with 62 of our Senate colleagues, urged appropriators this past spring to provide robust funding for medical research for NIH. Your advocacy is so essential. Your advocacy is really key in this fight. I'm joining others in requesting an additional $15.5 billion in funding for NIH to support research which may have been halted or curtailed because of the pandemic. We cannot lose ground on this critical research. So thanks again for all you do and for the important work that you're doing every day to discover and develop the treatments, the vaccines, and the cures of tomorrow. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Treadwell. I'm AACR's Director of Patient Advocacy and Engagement. I hope that you're having a wonderful evening. Please let me add my thanks and gratitude to all of you for participating in the Rally for Medical Research. The power of advocates to make an impact has been proven time and time again, as we've seen with 5 straight years of significant funding increases for the NIH. For many of us, the rally message is personal. Funding for medical research means better treatments for our families. It means better quality of life for our communities. It means hope for our children. It is with great honor that I end this evening by sharing these inspirational messages from our fellow advocates who are participating in the Rally Hill Day. Thank you so much.
My name is Dawn Kernan Aldridge, and I am the co-founder of Solutions Cancer Resource Center, serving the minority and underserved communities in the Bronx and Lower Westchester, New York. I am grateful for the opportunity to participate through the American Association for Cancer Research in this year's Rally for Medical Research. The communities that we serve are underrepresented in gaining access to groundbreaking clinical research trials, and I strongly believe that with more funding, we can broaden that access to include a more diverse participant base.
Hello, my name is Andrea Lucy, and I am with the Prader-Willi Syndrome Association of the USA. I am involved with the Rally for Medical Research to advocate for funding for medical research, which is critical to the Prader-Willi Syndrome community.
Hello, my name is Dr. Lee Greenberger, Chief Scientific Officer of the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I enthusiastically support Virtual Rally Hill Day because sustained funding for cancer research by the federal government is absolutely critical to accelerating tremendous progress in treating cancer.
I'm Christine Buckley, Executive Director of the Brain Aneurysm Foundation, and I'm really looking forward to September 16, 2020 to participate in a virtual advocacy event on Capitol Hill for Rally for Medical Research.
My name is Kathy Siggins, and I live in Mount Airy, Maryland, Frederick County. I am a volunteer advocate for the Alzheimer's Association. I'm here today to rally for Alzheimer's research at the National Institutes of Health.
The ability for the researchers and patients to work together is priceless. There's something special about having a team that is working together on the same goals, as each patient presents their own unique case, giving an opportunity for both patient and the researcher to do all that they can while learning what works and what may need to be adjusted to have a better outcome.
Indeed, progress in treating blood cancers has been exceptional. While blood cancers comprise only 10% of all cancers, more than 35% of newly approved cancer treatments are for blood cancers. Based on foundational research over the past 30 years, We have recently achieved many breakthroughs, including revolutionary genetically engineered FDA-approved cellular therapy called CAR-T for leukemia, lymphoma, and hopefully soon for myeloma.
Medical experts in PWS clinical trials have never treated Prader-Willi syndrome patients or had much experience with the disease. With continued and increased funding of the National Institutes of Health, we will see improved health, more progress, more hope, and save more lives of individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome.
Medical research funding is needed greatly across all spectrums. Here at the Brain Aneurysm Foundation, we are currently the largest private funder of brain aneurysm research. And currently the federal government only funds $2.08 per person affected each year. And with 1 in 50 people being affected, that's just not acceptable.
I'm here to ask our members of Congress to prioritize increased funding for medical research at the National Institutes of Health. This is where we will find a cure for Alzheimer's and all other diseases that affect so many people.
Allow your passion, your drive, and your determination to guide you. So let's all come together from our various areas of advocacy in sending a message to Congress.
I rally for brain aneurysm research.
We at LLS rally for blood cancer patients.